This is Lemmy with RevZilla, here doing another I couldn't say on my commute on into work. Now, I'm on the Yamaha FJR right now, so just about everything that you're going to hear out of my mouth is I couldn't say because we never did a full video review on this thing. Spurgey headed out to Arizona earlier this year to see about the new model updates, and I took care of full review duties on this bike, but we only did a written review on this, so there wasn't really even a full video review for me to have thoughts get cut out. If you haven't read the full review, let me give you the Reader's Digest version. The FJR is an immensely competent motorcycle, handles so many situations with this sort of quiet poise and dignity. It's really just a very competent motorcycle. Yet in spite of that, I didn't fall in love with this bike. It never really captured my heart. And I feel a little bit bad about that. But I was thinking over the sport touring market, thinking about the sport touring buyer, the rider, some of my experiences, and I was thinking this crazy thought, but I feel like the FJR is one of these rare motorcycles that was not helped by competition. Normally in the motorcycle world, competition is what drives things right along. As soon as an advancement is made, everybody else picks up on it, and we benefit from it, the motorcyclists. The manufacturers benefit from it because they're making better bikes. It keeps them on their toes, and we benefit from it because we're getting better products, and that happens. Sadly, though, the FJR, I feel like, got hosed by another sport tourer. Let me explain. So my first sport touring bike was a Kawasaki Concourse, not one of the newer second gens. Mine was a first gen. And that was a really interesting motorcycle. That bike stayed the same from, I believe, 1987 to 2006. Like 19 years, that thing had the same model run. They didn't change hardly anything on that bike at any point. I mean, I think maybe they changed the fork leg drain screws. There were no changes ever made to that motorcycle. And it was kind of a cool bike. They took an old Piggy Ninja 1000 that was not really competitive anymore, slapped a pair of Samsonite suitcases on the side of the thing, and they said, congratulations, you got a sport touring bike. And they were cheap. Go back to 2006, the final year of the first gen. You could pick up a Concourse for $8,499. Now compare that to the other end of the market. You had the super expensive BMW, what was then the K1200 GT, or sort of sitting right in the middle there, you had the Yamaha FJR, sort of a good mix of sport and touring. Lots of creature comforts, but still a very sporty motorcycle. And those rang in at $13,499, a whole $5,000 more. Now here's where the competition thing comes in. 2007, Concourse gets a redesign, and they are aiming squarely for the FJR. The bike gets much bigger, displacement is very similar to the FJR, lots and lots of creature comforts on that motorcycle now. The problem is this, these two bikes got immensely similar, and over the past 10 years I feel like it's been a tit and tat back and forth trying to make that bike better, and the problem was that entry-level sport tourer, the budget sport tourer hole in the market was just gaping, it was glaring. And I think unfortunately what happened was Cowie and Yam were neck and neck with each other, and I think the people who got really hosed in this, to be honest, were the people in the segment, because there's been a whole bunch of Me Too additions to these bikes. So I'm going to pick on the FJR for a little minute, because that's what I'm riding on right now. But there were some additions to this bike that are just, I think, wholly unnecessary, just to justify the high price of this machine. I'll give you a couple examples. I'm on the ES model right now. This thing has adaptive LED cornering lamps. Are they awesome? Yes, they are super cool. Do I need them? No, not even a little bit. It's one of those nice to haves, I guess, but if I were buying this bike, I wouldn't want to come out of pocket for something like that. I'll add that on later if I need it. So another one to think about too, slipper assist clutch. Is it nifty? Sure, on face value, it was like, oh, slipper assist clutch, yeah, that's great. But think about how an FJR is ridden. This is largely a pretty conservative touring machine. Sure, there's guys who go out there and ride them super hard, and that's fine, but we need to remember that that's not the bulk of the market, and of those people who are doing this, they understand pretty darn well that they shouldn't be making a 6.2 downshift with the rev limiter tacked out all the way. So again, another Me Too addition. The final, and probably most egregious one for me, is the sixth gear. Why did they put a sixth gear in this bike? Didn't need it at all. Sixth gear transmissions are seen as modern, and the catalog bikers and the people who read too many reviews figured it needed a sixth gear, but really that's not true, I don't think. Go back to the 5-speed model. Let's just make fifth gear really tall. The whole idea was to get better, lower cruising RPMs on the highway. Just make fifth a lot taller. Even if you're riding this bike aggressively, you're riding any bike aggressively, you're getting all your work done in first through fourth. Fifth can be a very tall jump, doesn't need to have much pull or yank. I feel like, again, it was a Me Too sort of addition. So the market was not helped by all these things. All they did was kept a reason for Yamaha to maintain their price. Kawasaki the same way. Now to bring this back around full circle, that entry-level hole in the market was totally empty until the Kawasaki Versys 1000 LT came along. I saw that bike and I was like, oh my gosh, that is my old Concours, my first-gen Concours. It's a piggy old Ninja 1000. They slammed some hard bags on it, and while it doesn't have a shaft drive, other than that, they look very similar to me. I can't wait to get on one of those. That's kind of my idea of a sport tourer, something that's a little bit more light touring and a little bit heavier on the sport emphasis of things. But, you know, it was just one of those things I was thinking about, sort of how the market was affected in general, how this segment was affected by the FJR and some of the other bikes in it, and that was some of what I came up with. So, you know, appreciate you guys hanging out, watching. Always like having you guys along with me on the commute. Of course, do me a favor, leave comments, questions, concerns, whatever you got there. I'll try to get to them. And please, do me a favor, subscribe to us. There's no greater validation of what we're doing than a subscription. And, you guys, by doing that, you're really helping us shape our content, making the stuff that you want to see. So, I'm getting near the highway. I'm going to probably sign off for now. I'm Lemmy, and I'm out of here.